What's up, guys? So today is new camera day, and I couldn't possibly be any more excited. It's been a long time since I've gotten to unbox a new camera, and today the FedEx man just showed up and dropped off my new Fuji X-M5. So without any delay, I haven't seen this camera yet in person. I've read a lot, I've watched just about every YouTube video out there. I'm going to share my first impressions with it with you live as I open this box up right now, and we will see what we think of it together. So let's tear into this outer packaging and see what we're working with. Bubble wrap. And this tiny X-M5 box. This is the new, more eco-friendly Fuji packaging, with no longer the black printed, very sharp looking boxes, but this still looks nice. You'll see here that I did get the silver version of the X-M5. Everyone said the black wouldn't be available until early next year, and that's what B&H's website indicated as well. Somehow people are getting the black one already, which makes me a little bit jealous. I couldn't find a place to pre-order it. Maybe it's a US versus Europe thing, I'm not really sure. Either way, I've got the silver version here, and let's dive on into it and see what's going on. All right. Some info, free trial of Capture One. Let's get to the good stuff, right? There is a Fuji strap. I'm a Peak Design guy, so I'll never use that. We have the old style small battery like my X-T3 uses. That's kind of the one really big unfortunate thing about this camera, but we will make it work. And finally, the last thing in the box is the camera itself. So we can get rid of that packaging and focus on the good stuff here. Let's pull this out of the plastic. And my God, this thing is so tiny. Compared to any X series body I've ever used. To date, I've used the X-T3, the XH2, and then I did own an X100V for a little while. But this thing is so much smaller than even the X100V. And I won't say it feels cheap in the hand, but it definitely doesn't feel as sturdy as, say, my XH2 or my X-T3. But it is pretty weighty. It doesn't feel, light and cheap in the hand. I'll throw some close-up shots on the screen so you guys can take a look at it. And I real quick want to throw a battery in it. Let's see what we're working with, right? So battery in, power on. I've got to go through all my setup. I don't really feel like doing this on camera right now. But let's go ahead and throw a lens on this thing and see how it balances real quick. So we're going to start big to small here. I have my Tamron 17-70, and obviously this is completely ridiculous. It's super front heavy. If you're ever going to use a lens like this on a body, this is not the camera for you. I would definitely not recommend, if you're going to be into large lenses, getting this camera, but I wanted to see how goofy it felt because I'm a fun guy like that. So let's pop that lens off. And I am actually curious, though, to see how the 56 1.2 WR fits. It's a little bit smaller of a lens, but it's still a pretty hefty portrait lens. And if you look, it's actually taller on the top and the bottom than this camera body. So you get this like funky wobble here if you set it on the table. This reminds me of like a miniature version of using like a 70-200 on a full frame body, right? It's kind of hilarious. But in a pinch, for a backup, if I had to, this could work. Obviously, this body is going to be used by most people with smaller lenses, right? Things like this. This is my Sigma 56mm 1.4, and I think this lens might spend a lot of time on this camera. It might be the reason this lens sticks around in my collection. And all of a sudden, this feels like a very small little powerhouse of a camera that I could use to take some really nice portraits, right? So really, I think anything this size or smaller is going to balance really well. Currently, this is the smallest lens I own. I do plan to pick up like a 35 f2, which I've owned before, or maybe even like the 27mm pancake lens. something to that effect to go on this camera for like my everyday carry-around setup. But for now, this lens will do certainly for a small little pocketable portrait setup. I do have a full review of this camera that'll be coming out in a week or two from today, but I didn't want to, you know, bullshit you guys and do it on the day it arrived. I need a couple of weeks to kind of get a feel for the camera, see what I think of it. And I will also be putting out a video explaining why I bought this camera. I have an X-H2, I have an X-T3. I certainly could have bought something more like an XS20 or an X-T30, an X-T50, one of the little more mid-range cameras. But I'll put out a video explaining exactly why I went with this camera as well. Long story short, I wanted something really, really small that could help me with these YouTube videos and be used for kind of an everyday carry around, photograph my family type camera. So this is a pretty controversial camera between some of the decisions they made on it with the film simulation dial and stuff. So let me know in the comments what you're thinking of this camera. Did you pre-order one? Are you excited about it at all? What's going on? I'd love to hear from you. And until then, go ahead and subscribe to my channel so you can catch the next videos that I have coming out about this camera.